Tonight, Austin East High School kicked
Austin East High School.
Austin East High School.
And at Austin East Magnet School.
Knoxville police are still looking for more information about a shooting near Austin East High School.
Coach at Austin East High School, Mr. Matthew Best. Our community is saddened by the violence that has plagued our streets in recent months.
Everyone always asks us, how do you heal from something like this? How do you come out of the other side? And there are images that will forever be burned into my brain. Students waiting in lines to say goodbye to their friends in caskets. Walking into my classroom with students in a circle holding hands, praying before we went to services. Students having clear backpacks, walking through metal detectors into school like they did something wrong. Students holding candles at vigils to mourn yet another student over and over and over again. And while this doesn't define us, but it is an important part of the story. It's their story, and their story matters, and their lives mattered.
So my experience as a student was fun. I hated middle school, so high school was turned. We had a good time. All my friends from like elementary school, middle school came to Austin East, and this is the place to be.
It's actually one of the best experiences I've had in my life. Growing up, I always wanted to be a road runner, and actually getting that opportunity, it was just a blessing.
I had a wonderful experience. I graduated in 2017. While I was here at AE, I was Mr. Freshman, Mr. Sophomore, Mr. Junior. I participated in a lot of activities here at Austin East. Actually, I would do my high school years over again.
My experience at Austin East was great, although it was just 1 year because of integration. I was zoned to go to East High School, which kind of broke my heart because I was set on being at Austin. But that 1 year is still paying dividends because our class is quite active. We provide scholarships for seniors over here. And it's just, the whole thing, it's just always just a great big, like a family reunion every Friday.
Man, I think this school probably saved me because I was transferring from another school and I was having some issues at home, and I had to move in with my dad. So my dad just lived right down the street from Austin East, and they gave me a chance to come to Austin East.
My high school experience here was awesome. I met a lot of friends, mentors, those that guided me to help me become the person that I am today.
When I was a student here, and even as alumni, we had a very rich tradition in academics, but also in sports, in leadership, from choral. We weren't a performing arts school back then, but we had all those things, band, chorus, various things, student government. So it was very student-centered.
First of all, I grew up in East Knoxville, went to, pretty much all the East Knoxville schools, and then I actually transferred to Fulton. So I think it just makes my experience a little bit unique. For me, I really can't think of a particular game or time that was memorable, but I think just the whole, from the time that I was at Fulton, from 96 to 2000, just like that whole experience of rivalry against the two teams, like that whole 4 years was memorable.
My experience at Austin East has been incredibly positive. I feel like it is a gift that I'm able to be here for myself personally. My time here has been very layered. I think that there has been a lot of ups and a lot of downs. But there's really, truly no other place that I would rather be.
My first year teaching was 2008, 2009. I was brand new. We were going through reconstruction. Austin East was, because of our test scores. And so most of the staff was brand new. And so that included a lot of brand new teachers as well. With that, I think that included a lot of support. So my first year teaching, I felt completely supported by coaches and administrators, and that led me to stay here for 10 years. So my experience at AE really made me who I am, not only as a person, but as an educator.
So my experience here at AE, I'm in the middle of my 4th year, has been an adventure. Some days it's funny, some days it's sad, some days it's challenging, some days are easier than others. But it's an experience I wouldn't trade for the world.
Obviously, I went to school with a lot of diversity. I went to Norland Middle School, and then after that, I went to a magnet school, just like this school's a magnet school. I went to New World School of the Arts. So I see a lot of similarities. People's different backgrounds, they add a flavor to a school that I think a lot of people don't get to experience. So I actually think it's a lot the same, which makes me very happy when I come over here. Oh, this school is hugely welcoming. I've never not come and not felt like family.
I actually started as an intern. So my intern year, I was at the University of Tennessee. I was working on my master's degree, and the way their program is set up, you have already graduated with your bachelor's, so you've gone for 4 years at UT, and then the 5th year, they ask you, what high school in Knox County do you want to teach at for your intern year? We're supposed to give our top 3. Now, my backstory is I'm actually originally from Atlanta, Georgia. So my plan after graduating from UT was to move back to Atlanta, and I didn't really know much about local high schools. So when I was like, I'm moving back to Atlanta, give me an idea of a high school that might be similar to when I moved back. And so they were like, Austin East, Fulton, and my mom had done some stuff with Austin East a few years ago, and she was like, no, go to AE and love it. So I was like, well, send me to Austin East. So they sent me to Austin East, and once again, I didn't know much about the school. My plan was to move back to Atlanta. So I started my internship year, and I think about 3 months into it, I went into Mr. Lang Lewis's office, and I was like, I'm staying in Knoxville, and I need a job at Austin East Magnet High School.
Born and raised the Roadrunner. So my connection to Austin East runs extremely deep. My great-grandmother attended Knoxville Colored High School, which later became Austin High School. And then, I guess it would be my great-grandmother. And then my grandmother and my granddaddy both went to Austin High School. And then later, as hopefully y'all know, Austin merged with East and became Austin East.
My name is Renee Kessler, Reverend Renee Kessler, R-E-N-E-E. Kessler is K-E-S-L-E-R. So BAC has been around. This is 50 years. 2025 marks its 50-year anniversary of BAC. And we have been preserving and conserving African-American history since 1975. But specifically, we focus on the rich African-American history and culture in East Tennessee. We're a repository for Black history, over 50,000 artifacts that speak to Black history and culture. So we're proud to tell the stories of the amazing history right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. But in order for me to tell you the history of Austin East, I have to start by telling you the history of Austin. So Austin East gets its name from a woman by the name of Emily Austin, a white woman. Interestingly enough, Miss Emily Austin will come to Knoxville as a Presbyterian. And as a Presbyterian, she will come here on a mission. She'll begin to educate Black children. And as she begins to educate them, she says they need their own school. She will go back to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She'll raise the money. Guess who her cousin is? Her cousin was the President of the United States, Rutherford B. Hayes. He was the 19th President of the United States. So she called her cousin and said, hey, we need to build a school down there in Knoxville, Tennessee, because they don't have one for children. And this is coming after enslavement. After the Civil War. And so he will help her, call some of his friends. She'll raise $6,500, come back to Knoxville, and in 1879, she'll open the first school for African-American children, full school that will become a high school Austin High School. It was originally located in central, sort of in east downtown area. Crozier Street was the name of it in 1879. So the very first school comes from Emily Austin, a white woman who believed that children should have the best education. Well, then in 1952, you have an all-white school, East High School. So before this building became Austin East, it was just East High School. That means it was just all white students during legal segregation. Now, Vine is where Austin was. You're absolutely right. That's the last school. So in 1952, you open up an all white school East and you open up the new all black school Austin in what we call Vine Middle Magnet School today. Both of those schools and those locations opened at that time. So then slowly they began to do integration and Black kids began to come here to East High School. Well, in order to do full integration and make sure Black and white students were going to school together, they merged the all-Black school Austin with the all-white school East, put them together in this place, which was just East High School, and called it Austin East High School. They did it in 1968. The very first graduating class of Austin East High School will graduate in 1969. And so that's how we get the name Austin East High School. But again, from there, extraordinary people have graduated. So your beginnings go way back to 1879, and it's still going. We're almost 150 years old with this school, and it's still going, producing extraordinary people.
I will say, Austin East prepares you for life. I didn't really know how to be a student. So I will say, while I excelled academically here, when I went to college, I realized I was just so used to memorizing material that I really didn't know how to study. So the transition from high school to college was hard for me my freshman year, like most people. We didn't have books. Let me rephrase, because somebody will say, they don't have books at Austin East. We did have books. We didn't have enough books to be able to take them home. So a lot of our work we had to do in school to get it done. So once I left school, I figured like, oh, my work is done. That's not the case when you go to college. It's like you have to constantly study. You're constantly reviewing notes from class. So I will say one of the challenges that I experienced when transitioning from high school to college was learning the ability to study. But the work ethic and the commitment that Austin East taught me and instilled in me allowed me to not let that become too much and push through.
I think it's just the pride and the camaraderie. Like still to this day, I love the color combination of baby blue and red, and it automatically makes me think of Austin East. And it's really the pride, the culture, the camaraderie. I lived right around the corner from Austin East, so I grew up listening to the band play. I could hear the band playing even as a kid whenever we're practicing. I would go to the basketball games and the football games, and I would watch the cheerleaders, and I knew all the cheers before I even got to high school. So it was a pride in becoming a cheerleader. It was a pride being an off-season road runner. It was a pride singing, it was a pride singing the songs and going like to the games and being a part of just that camaraderie and that culture. I miss walking the hallways. I miss the friends that I've had. And it was just one of the best times of my life.
I think a common misunderstanding that people have is that one, our students are not smart or that our kids don't achieve. And so I know not just because I've worked there, but I've also had experience working in other schools, from West Knoxville to North Knoxville, South Knoxville. And what I do know is the students at Austin East are no different from students at Hardin Valley, South Doyle, Fulton, Bearden. They are students. They are 14, 15, 16, they're teenagers. There's a lot more in them that I think sometimes they don't always recognize, and that it takes people that work here. They have good teachers, they have good administrators, they have people who want to be here. Often the misconception is that if you work at Austin East, or if you go to Austin East, if you teach at Austin East, then you are subpar. You must not be at the top of your game. But I know that we have excellent teachers here. We have level 5 teachers. We have top students here. And the thing that I love most about our school, our culture here, is that, like, it does matter. Like, we care about each other. So if you succeed, then it's one more, as kids succeed, it's one more, I'm going to say, not cap, but just another affirmation that it can be done. And we have kids that go on to do great things, more kids than not. Everybody makes sometimes not great choices in life, and, they have to deal with those consequences. But most of our students that come to school here, they want to come to school. They want to do well, and they want to succeed. And so I think if that's what they, and we cannot give up on them, and our people don't give up.
I know you see a lot of kids doing a lot of stuff in the hallways now, but back when I was a kid, you might see somebody breakdancing all the way down the hall. When I was a kid, we had this guy that could spin on his head, and we looked down the hall, and he's spinning on his head, going all the way down the hallway, and we was like, man, I didn't know he could do that. And we was, and hip hop and all that stuff was happening then, and people was breakdancing and stuff. So to come to a school where somebody breakdancing and spinning on their head all the way down the hall, it was just like, man, this is something. I never been to a school like this before.
I mean, the thing about Austin East is we have such a legacy, because we are a unique school. We have Austin High School, which was founded in the 1800s, and historically black high school, and you have East High School, which was founded in 51. Was a traditionally white high school, and merging the two, in 1967, is that we are. It's just different over here. It is special. It is unique. Our community ties run deep, and so I feel like Austin East High School is kind of the anchor for East Knoxville. I feel like it's a shining star for East Knoxville. We got just a great momentum moving forward. We've seen ups and downs over the years. We've seen trials and tribulations, and we've cried, we've laughed, and we've hugged each other. But all through it all, we kept our Roadrunner pride and our Roadrunner spirit, and that's what's going to continue to drive us forward. I see us moving the needle in the right way. Our academic outcomes are getting higher and higher as we go. We're focused on the things that matter, and that's making sure kids, first of all, feel safe and feel loved. And second of all, equipping them with the skills and dispositions to be successful after high school, after high school, after high school, after high school.
Austin East is special, and it's special because of the history and the tradition. I'm not aware of some of the other schools. It goes back to when it was Austin High School, and then they combined it, I think in 1968, and it turned into Austin East. So you've got a very long and rich tradition of athletics and just overall excellence coming out of Austin East.
I've been here for about 21 years now. I first came here as a school counselor and the head girls track coach. Winning state when I was a track coach in 2007.
Oh, my favorite memory of being an athlete. So, okay, I told y'all, my daddy coached here in the 80s. So the class of 1987, if you guys ever find any of them, they call themselves the legacy class, because that year they won state in football, boys basketball, and boys and girls track. So me and my best friend, Bianca, when we came here our freshman year, we said, we're going to take down the record board. And we did. We broke most of all the records that the class of 87 held on the track the girls' track records, except for a couple. There's a couple that we weren't able to get. And we said we would bring another gold, I guess it would be a shoe for track, back to the school. And we were able to do that. So my senior year, we won state in girls' track and field by like half a point. And then I also played basketball. And we brought the first gold ball back to the city. We were the first public high school girls team to win the state championship. So my senior year was amazing. We won state in basketball in March, and then we turned around and won state in track in May. So the best memory was, I know I'm probably gonna date myself, but when we won, Bianca ran on the track with her cap and gown hat, and she put it on, and we cranked that Soldier Boy. We was like, you, like, we was lit. So that was my favorite memory from track. And then in basketball, if they have footage, so Walk It Out and Two Step, like all those dances were new relatively when we were our senior year. And when we played at Chattanooga School. And then one time they were dancing at halftime, and we ran out kind of on the sideline, and we started doing the two-step. So Coach Brapson at the time made us run to that song the entire practice one day, because we shouldn't have run out on the court, granted. So when we won state, we was like, we gonna hit that two-step on center court. And so if you see the newspaper article, we're literally in the middle, like dancing. So that will live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life.
I coached football here for 3 years. I learned a whole lot. You know, it was Coach Stevens' second year as head coach was my first year. I had an opportunity to work in a leadership role from the jump. I was defensive coordinator at the age of 22, and I knew a little bit of football and a little bit about coaching. But Coach Stevens gave me an opportunity to serve in a leadership capacity from a very young age. So, and it was really just a lot of fun getting to connect with kids and impacting kids. And, you know, those are, you know, I see some of those guys now who are on our current coaching staff. And so it's just really rewarding for me to be able to see those guys grow and stay in communication with them throughout the years, and see them now blowing the whistle themselves. So it's really, really neat. We had a lot of fun. We won a lot of football games. But more importantly, you know, we saw a lot of kids go on and play collegiately.
I have coached many athletes to get to the next level in life. Not even just track, just going to college and finishing college. That is my best, my favorite achievement. That's all I want. I want everybody to be successful and experience more than just Knoxville and Austin East.
My community, I love where I came from. But I wanted to venture out, and I wanted to experience more. And I knew I could do that through track, and I could get a full scholarship to a college. But I had the support system, my parents, my track coaches. Heather Blakemore was my track coach at Austin East, so I had amazing coaches that pushed me, and so they helped me stay motivated. But also my senior year, I knew that we had a great chance at winning state and track. So that really pushed me my senior year. I was putting up posters all around the school, trying to recruit people to get on the track team, and we were able to do that, and we went to one state that year.
At the same time, we also happened to win the state championship in 2001, you know, getting to take a group of kids down to Murfreesboro and play at MTSU, win a state championship was just awesome. Great experience that no one can ever take away from us. For 7 years, working at Fulton, worked with a lot of great people, and the people at Fulton are really not that different than the people at Austin East, right? You have the same, similar communities. The only difference is one of them wear maroon and one of them wear red and blue. But at the end of the day, both family-oriented places, very historical schools in town, a lot of tradition, a lot of legacy in terms of generations of families going to the same school. You know, we talked a lot about family at Fulton. We talk a lot about family at Austin East. And so when you put those two things together.
Fulton, Austin East, need I say more? Real treat tonight, as this one, anytime these two teams get together, the standing room only crowd in here is proof positive that we're going to see a good one here.
Together, it's just the very intense rivalry.
High school basketball. And Russell, we're in for a real treat tonight as this one, anytime these two teams get together, the standing room only crowd in here is proof positive that we're going to see a good one here.
Tony, the doors have already been locked. Nobody can get in the gym that's not already here.
There was football or basketball, very intense rivalries. Everybody's wanting to make sure their team came out on top.
Major rivalry, I guess, is Fulton.
And when I was in school, was more like us, but they weren't like us. So it was always a rivalry with them because they're similar to us, but we still just were better. I feel like bigger and better. Sports, anything. So we always say dirty birds. There was dirty birds, and we still was the road runners, and we just got more heart than them. So when it came to different aspects in life, we just felt like we was just kind of like runners, Fulton. And they still down here and we up here. So I think being a road runner versus a Falcon ain't no comparison. Still to this day, we got them.
Do you have any favorite moments from the A versus Fulton rivalry?
Yeah, this would be dumb. The games used to be packed. When we was in school, it was like stand up only at those games, football and basketball. Like we used to turn this place out. Like it was like competition on competition. So the band, no. Before it's like sports wise, they gave you run for your money back then, but we still kind of came up top. So it was fun.
I just want everybody to know.
So a common misunderstanding people have about AE is the typical stereotypes. And the reason why they have these stereotypes is because, or beliefs, is because they don't know our students. Well, they don't know us either. They don't know where our students have been. They don't know where our students are. And they certainly have no idea the potential that our students have. So unless you're here, and unless you're in the trenches together, like teachers and students and even admin are, people have no idea just how far our students are going to go.
Well, it's never easy to be a road runner. You gotta have heart, dedication, and you're gonna get criticized for sure. They already criticize you just because you chose to go to Austin East.
I would say a couple years ago we had this whole thing where we say like that's the real AE. I would say like what they see in the news is not a complete picture. I would tell them like if I only knew one story about their life that might be seen as negative and that's the only thing I knew, then they wouldn't want me to judge them based off that either. Like there's a TED Talk by Chimamanda Adichie, and she talks about the danger of a single story. And I think that is what I would talk about with that person, and the fact that like we have these perceptions and we do it now all the time in society. Like we are presented one fact, one story, one side, and everyone's going to like latch onto that and go. And so like, but there's danger in that because then that means that is either pigeonholed that person or whoever the story's about, and also yourself. And so like if you're doing that and you're not doing the research to look at all of the sides of anything, then that is they are contributing to that danger of that perspective that is a negative perspective. And so I would say like to be wary of latching on to a single story, because nobody would want them to do that about themselves. So why do we continue to do that about Austin East?
I think the biggest sacrifice I made as a student is getting out of here. People think that we can't make it nowhere, but if you kind of put in the work, you can leave here and be great in life. I think like not being, we didn't graduate, or we're not going to be anything in life after we graduate. So I think sacrificing is working hard to get to the next level.
Yeah, I think there's always been stereotypes when it comes to Austin. So I would even hear those stereotypes when I was a kid. And it was a part of me that made me a little hesitant to go. And I think that can be very dangerous because it can persuade kids to not want to go there, thinking that, you know, the environment may not be great or you may not get a great education. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. And it's going to take our community to keep investing and pouring into the schools. And once I went to the school, I got friends, and it was fun in the hallways, and it wasn't all these stereotypes that people had. And the teachers were amazing. I was taking AP classes, and I think it can be very harmful, but I feel like once you go there, you realize that it's not what everybody says.
So I'm not from Knoxville. I moved here. And so I've been at Channel 6 for more than 20 years. So I've had the chance to see different stories being covered on AE. Um, I think Austin East, like any other school, has its challenges. Every school has their challenge. The school just has the unfortunate it's unfortunate the school has to live out those challenges publicly. A lot of the schools don't have to do that. They have private challenges, whether it's drugs in school, whether it's behavior. It's for this school, you all have had to live that out publicly. And I think the challenge for me in watching that is making sure that people remember that you all are children, you all are students, and you have feelings, and you're protective of your school as you should be.
I know that I've had to talk to several people because when I tell them that I either taught here or this is where I work, they have a lot of perceptions and they assume some things about the teachers, that we are here because we couldn't, we're not very good teachers or we're not very good administrators. And so we were just placed here. And so that also gets put on our students as far as there's the thing that AE doesn't stand for Austin East, it stands for almost educated.
I was back. There was a point in time when the news was producing like just articles and they kept being labeled as Austin East. And like we emailed the media and we kept giving examples like, hey, this is not Austin East. This is the street over. And I remember essentially we got a response one time. It's basically clickbait. Like they know if they caption the school, people are going to click it. People are going to share that article. So no, Austin East is not any more dangerous than the next school. Every schools that we don't know about have bomb threats daily. Kids bring weapons to those schools daily. Guess what they do? They go through the process, confiscate the weapon, and everything gets swept under the rug. But obviously, because we're the blueprint of the city, if we do it at Austin East, it has to be blown out of proportion. So I would say no, Austin East is not dangerous. Are there issues? Yes, but every school has issues, and our issues are no different than any school that sits in West Knoxville or in North Knoxville.
What makes AE different is the community, just the passion. It's like when you say that you went to AE, you go to AE, it's just a look, it's an energy that you feel. It's not really necessarily that what people say, but it's an energy surrounded by like the fact that you are a part of this experience. Because like I said, there is no other experience, in my opinion, as being a part of this 2800 community. So I think it's just the energy, the vibe that you feel that is unmatched anywhere. So
Personally, about Austin East is don't buy into the stereotypes that you hear about Austin East. It's a lot of amazing things that come out of Austin East. It's a lot of success stories that come out of Austin East. There's a lot of pride with Austin East. If you go to Austin East, you'll get an amazing education. With sports, you'll get great coaches there. You get teachers that will invest into you, and it's proof is in the pudding. You go back and you look at people who have graduated from Austin East and all the amazing things that they are doing, and everybody that's successful, everybody that's come from Austin East, we all say we're 2800 made. So we're all very proud to be a road runner. And it's just something that you just have to experience. So I would encourage people to send their kids to Austin East. My brother even went back and he was a football coach there for a couple of years. And so you always have to just go back and invest into the community, invest into the school, and don't buy into stereotypes.
Yeah, so I actually want to take you back to March of the school year before when COVID started. So we went on spring break and we didn't come back because of COVID. And so that was like weird. And then when we started the school year in August, it was like up and down. Like some days we were virtual, some days we were in person. So it was like already like a funky year, right? Like you were dealing with a global pandemic that when you go to school to learn how to teach, they don't teach you how to teach during a pandemic. So we were already dealing with that. And then we had another pandemic happen. And for a lot of us, it actually started before what you read on the media. You know, I remember in September, I just got out of the shower and I got a phone call from a student, and it was the first phone call I had gotten like that. And it was that a student that had just graduated, Derek Perry, had been shot and killed. And that was the beginning of one of the most traumatic years as a teacher, as a person I've ever experienced. And then after Derek Perry, and that was, you know, like trying to navigate that with teachers who knew him because he had graduated, like I said, the year before, it was a little bit different. And then in January is when it all started, and it didn't stop. So.
I just hear a pound, and I kind of froze because I could hear it clear, but I didn't know what it was. And then the radios just start kind of going off, and I had to quickly go into the motion of, oh my gosh, freaking out at the same time. I can't freak out because I have to get on the intercom to put us on a hard lockdown. So you hear kind of like screaming and orders being shouted out of what to do next. Basically, you kind of go in TCG mode to figure out how to put the school on lockdown to make sure everybody is safe. So as I'm making my announcement, I remember trying not to freak out and be calm, but my voice still was shaking. And I think people could tell my voice was shaking and maybe something was wrong, but I tried not to shake as much to make everybody else nervous in the building. So it went from normal to not so normal like that. I think it made our students unsafe. I think they were scared. I think some of the things that they seen and heard, you never want your children to see or hear any of those things. And you have active police in the building with guns and rifles. They're scared. So I think it made our students very uneasy even coming back in the building. That secure location was locked for a while because our students didn't feel comfortable going in there. I think they didn't want to come back into the building, so that put a damper on the school. This is supposed to be a safe zone, so some students didn't feel safe after the incident. I think when coming here, this is our second home. We spend a lot of time in this building together, like we're a family. So I think that kind of like put a little dent in the word family and safe zone for our babies and our teachers and staff as well, because I mean, we come in here every day as well, and we do look at our kids as our family as well too. So I think everybody kind of was affected after the incident. Oh my gosh, just somebody's baby. That's all I could think. For sure. I went to this school. This is legacy. I'm talking about my whole entire family went to Austin East. My mom's brother was the first class to graduate from Austin East. So like my whole entire family went here. My nephew still go here as a Black African American male in this building. You know, that's kind of tough sometimes in the world, as we know that we do have tension sometimes with authority and enforcements. So I think it affected us all, and in a way that we don't ever want to be affected again.
So what's a misconception that a lot of people who were not involved in that situation for them at school at the time had about that particular situation and our students?
If you knew that student, you would know the type of person he is. I think that his character also was put on the line as well. He was a great kid. Like, come from a good home. I think people don't know the whole story, don't know him personally. So of course you're gonna assume the worst. but you don't know what goes through somebody's head, their day-to-day living, the situation at home. You don't know any of that. But when you get to know these kids, you get to know who they really are. And I think his character was kind of judged a little bit too on why and how, but you are a kid. He's a kid. A kid and a grown-up's mentor are not on the same level for sure. So I think how he could have handled it or what he did, you may think, oh, he should have did this, should have did that. But how do you know until you're put in that situation? And I hope no one else is ever put in that situation ever. But he was a good kid. And whoever was involved in that also were great students as well and come from great homes as well and have ties in our community. So I think that's a disadvantage. Like, people think all bad about the kid because, oh, he did this, but y'all don't even know him.
Take out, the name Austin East, take out the school or where it's located. My first thought was a child was shot. And I don't, it doesn't matter to me where it happened. My first thought is, my goodness, a child, has been shot. And that's a tough one, no matter what the situation is surrounding that. And we've had that at other schools and other communities and other counties right here in East Tennessee. You all are not alone. You're not the only schools that have had to go through that. But that was my first thought. And then my second thought as a journalist is, what happened? So I don't get the luxury of putting emotion first. So I think a lot of folks forget that when you work in a newsroom and an event happens, a major, for our local community, a major news event happens, the first thing we need to just try to figure out is the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Then you start breaking into, okay, so what led up to this? What does the community need to know? So we don't get to lead, and I don't get to lead with emotion. I have to lead with, who can I call to find out what do they know? What information can I get? Because that's the first thing the community wants. They want answers. And sometimes they feel like they're not going to get that from local officials or even the school system, because the school system has to protect themselves as well. Whereas for us, we just need to tell you all exactly what went down. And so that was my first thought. That morning was that day was a very tough day because I had a friend who was connected with the school. She's a parent, and she messaged me and she said, something's going on at the school. I need you to find out what's going on. And so that's how we actually found out about it at Channel 6. I got the text from a girlfriend who said, hey, something's going on there. We need to figure out what's going on. People outside upset.
Sorry, I don't really talk about it because it's... No, it's okay.
That's that.
And I think it'll be hard for you to find a lot of people who will talk about it that were in the building, because it's been so many years ago. But then, we say like, oh, we've healed and all that, but you never truly heal from something like that. But like I said, we were dealing with, COVID on top of all that. And then January came and the first student was shot and killed. And it was like, once again, and it was a current student, like, once again, like, these are things that you don't learn in teacher school or whatever you want to call it, how to deal with students and their grief. And then Nana was shot and killed. And then in February, I still remember it was around Valentine's Day, because I was walking out of my classroom with Valentine's Day cupcakes, seeing if anybody after school wanted any. And then Mr. Lang Lewis came running in saying, everybody get back inside. And we didn't really think much of it because we had been on lockdown before. And so then I went home, I was making dinner, and I got another phone call like I did when Derek Perry was shot and killed. And we found out that Stanley was shot and killed leaving school. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like, how much more can happen for these kids, for us as a community. And it wasn't the end. And I remember going to Stanley's funeral. We had to take off from work that day. And so I was with a lot of the current juniors at the time, because we'd become really close because of all the losses. And I'd also taught them for 2 years. And I remember I came back to school after a half day, and I walked into my room just kind of like, God, how much more can we take? And on my whiteboard, and like, this is an example of our students. if you really want to know what Austin East is like, I walked in and these sophomores who are 15 years old had all written messages on my whiteboard, covered the whole thing with like, we love you, stay strong, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh my God, as an adult, I can't navigate my grief and these students are worried about checking in with me. So when you ask me what a roadrunner is, that's an example right there. And so, like I said, we were just, we kept trying to focus on healing and handling our grief. And then April 12th happened. And I don't know if anyone has still fully processed that event. And there was so much confusion when it first happened. And the media played a lot into that because if Austin East is involved, you're going to hear every which story. And even being outside of the building, people had their own takes on what happened. And then the video was released on the day of Anthony's service. And I can't imagine being his mom and watching that. And we attended the service together. I just lost my train of thought. Am I talking too fast? Okay. After Anthony was killed in our school bathroom, after Anthony was murdered in our school bathroom, I remember like school was shut down for a few days. And they were, like they had let kids know, like, if you want to come into the building, you can. Everyone that wasn't inside this building was like, oh my gosh, Austin East is so dangerous, blah, blah, blah. But what I want you to understand is when school was shut down after Anthony was killed, students were asking to come in and just sit with their teachers, just sit with each other. And I think that truly is a testament to how strong our school community is and how this was a safe place and a place for healing for a lot of these students. And I remember like a few days after it happened, sitting there with the students and just like, how do I come into this room and have a place for their grief while I'm also trying to learn how to grieve this? And yeah. And then after the rest of the school year, once again, the adults are trying to figure out how to be there for the students while also figuring out how to handle their own grief. And once again, these kids who were 15 through 18 years old started finding ways to heal themselves and rebuild and just have a healthy way to handle these emotions and this grief. And they were planning, peaceful walkouts and protests and memorials, and the adults couldn't even get it together. And that's how strong our roadrunners are. And later that year, when Lang Lewis announced that he was leaving, I don't think people understood how much Lang Lewis meant to our teaching staff during that school year, how much any of those admin meant to us. Like, we were such a close community before and after and during. So when he announced he was leaving and Miss Tammy Campbell was coming in, I had my own emotions, but let me tell you, looking back, Miss Tammy Campbell was exactly what we needed.
Our community, even though I wasn't working here physically at the time, but it happened during the school day, but just like not even having time to process from day to day. You're in school with students one day, and then you come back tomorrow and you hear they're not there. They got killed or they got shot. In the community, but the bottom line is they're not here. A child is not going to come back to school, or a child's not going to go home. And so part of the, that affects everybody. That affects the people who are currently students here. It affects people who went here. It just affects the whole community, teachers and everybody. And so there was a major exit, because fear is real. And so students who were here didn't really know how to handle it. community tried to help, and you know, because it was a lot. So when I came, and as I said, I'm a person of faith. So for me, daily, it was a prayer, and I've been in education almost 20 years, and I've never had to pray daily and say, God, help me, help us, protect us, keep us, give us wisdom, give us what we need. But every day I pray that every child and every adult that will come to this school would go home. That everybody would go home. And we've had things that happen, and it was unfortunate, but what I wanted our school to do, and it was a process. And some days we had to cry through it. We had to comfort through it because we still lost a student the day before school started. The first year I was here as principal, I lost a student over the weekend. And I was faced with even the decision, do we open school or do we shut down? And I'm always grateful because I was given that as an option, but I asked the parent of the mother of that child that was killed in community over the weekend. And when she told me, she said, have school. And she showed me her son's clothes, who had already laid his clothes out over the weekend to get ready for school that was to start on Monday. And she said, have school, Miss Campbell, because the kids, they need you. We all need each other. And she said, he would have been there if he hadn't died. And so from that, we had to keep moving. And some of the students even said, I can't come to school Monday. And I said, that's okay. I said, but if you decide to come, I said, because some kids are coming to school for their first day because they don't know any of this that happened before. And they're just coming to try to have a good high school experience. And for them, we're going to try to do what we can to make it. And so we did. We were celebratory, but we also hugged each other. And for those who needed to shed tears or to just know that, hey, we haven't forgotten, then that was okay. And so it was a process. And it wasn't always easy, but as a community, as a village, as a family, a AE family, we came together and we got through it. And we had pep rallies, and we had some normalcy. We had some what every child should experience in high school, some of the fun things. And we said, we got to take care of our work. We got to do our work. But we slowly but surely, we got to a place where it felt like AE. It felt like what it felt like to go here and have pride here, and to have a little bit more normal life. And thankfully, my last year, before I left, that was the year we lost no students to death, none, in community or any other way. We didn't lose any, so I was grateful for that.
She just took it all with such grace, but then also had us look at both sides of everything, and she just gave us everything we needed. I don't know how else to say that. That whole admin team they brought in, but she led the charge, and she was truly what we needed at the time, what the students needed. In relation to me, I was in such an angry place at that point, and she let me, and then also still, extended grace, extended opportunities, and still poured into me when she's also part of this community. She was also mourning, she was also grieving, but she is truly a servant leader. She truly is someone that puts everyone before herself. And that was what we needed at the time. And I don't know if she gets enough thanks for rebuilding Austin East Magnet High School or a school community, but she deserves all the praise, all the flowers, all of it.
I think, it doesn't make headlines on the news when someone graduates high school, goes on to college, graduates college, goes in the military, serves our country, and then gets hired as a pilot working for one of the major airlines, right? That's not a flashy news story, but those are some of the things that come out of Austin East. Is we got doctors, we got lawyers, we've got folks in every profession under the sun who have come through, walked these halls, sat in these classrooms, wore their red and blue, but that's not what always gets talked about, because it's not flashy. It's not gonna grab a headline. But our students here are gifted and talented.
I think once again, like, I mean, if you're gonna have a lot of people who tell you how strong the Austin East community is inside and outside the building. And so I think you have to take that into account when you think of all these tragedies that happened, that people knew these kids, even if they were in elementary school. You know, they might have seen John playing football. They might have seen Stan basketball or driving his car around. Like, people knew them. They knew their siblings. So I think it still has an impact. And if it doesn't have an impact on the students in that way, it has an impact on their teachers.
This is my portfolio. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it literally says Janae Anderson Easterly, Esquire. I'm 2800 made. Like, I take Austin East with me everywhere I go. So I make it a point because a lot of people they think that good things don't come from this school. And our alumni base is undefeated. No other school in this county's alumni base can go toe to toe with ours. Like, in my class alone, we have obviously Bianca, who's in the WWE. We have Josh Hintz. He works in the NFL. He is a scout, I believe, for the Bengals. It's one of those Ohio teams. I don't think it's the Browns. I'm pretty sure it's the Bengals. We have Ashford, who's a principal. We have Ken Easterly, who's like the supervisor of Knox County Record Management. My friend Kristen, she works in the neonatal department at Vanderbilt. The class of 05, Brenda O'Neill danced on Broadway. Like, we have people that are working law enforcement. They're first responders. They're firefighters, and you never hear about those things. All you hear about is, oh, we're on the list, or oh, the graduation rate's low, or oh, the kids don't come to school, or whatever. But that is a fraction of what really defines the school. So I'm a proud alumni.
Hard work matters, and that sometimes hard work is the only avenue that you can take. Being able to model what being a man is to our students and our athletes has allowed me to continue to keep myself in check. And I think that has been a very important part of what has made me who I am today.
I don't have a responsibility over the community. I have a responsibility to the community, right? I feel responsible that my job here is to represent Austin East well, protect our brand. I mean, there's a lot of history, a lot of tradition, 146 years of school that's gone on at Austin High and East High, and then now Austin East High School. So I've got to protect that. Right, what I do and the decisions I make, I've got to protect the Austin East brand, our name, our legacy, and push it forward. And I know when parents send their kids here, they're sending their most prized possession. A parent's most prized possession is their kid, and they're putting their kid in our hands and trusting us that we're going to provide a great education and we're going to keep them safe. While providing great education and create opportunities for them. So I feel a huge responsibility to our community. Again, I think we're the center of our community. And so we've got to make sure we're doing all we can to uplift East Knoxville, not for just today, but for down the line.
They need to come in the building. They need to come in the building because a lot of times people just hear the negative experiences based on what other people say, or people who kind of passed through here but didn't make Roadrunner, make themselves a real Roadrunner. Like, they maybe were here for 1 year. The student wasn't necessarily a positive student for our school, and they ended up leaving. So I think those are kind of the negative experiences. I think the ones who have been here for the long haul, gotten involved, who loved it, their parents loved it, they're like generational Roadrunners and stuff. They have parents who graduated in the 70s, or grandparents, 80s, stuff like that. Those are the ones who have really said, oh yeah, this is the place. But now let me be clear, this school is not for everybody. Because when you get in here, always, as we say, it's hard to be a Roadrunner. Like, you got to be able to stand strong, to believe that, what we do here, and that you believe in the school and what's happening.
I think people think that we're bad people in a way. Like, we're always fighting, getting in trouble, criminals, and I think that we are so much more than that. We are smart, we're educated, eventful, talented in so many different ways, and I think people don't give us a chance sometimes because who they think we are.
Just, however hard it gets, press on. If anybody that's a football player, when you're doing bench presses, they get hard, but you can always get one more. And so press on like that.
and go be great. All of you have the potential, and I would like to see all of you succeed, because then that would be my proudest moment, is to see the players that were here, or the students that were here when I was working here, to go on and do great things.
The one thing that I love about Austin East is it's still the same in the best way. It is still producing extraordinary students. It still has a culture you can't find anywhere else. It is still as important today as it was the day before. So when I look at Austin East High School, I don't see anything any different. I just see that it's still as important, if not more so, than it was yesterday. I think the challenge is everybody doesn't know that. We may have lost sight of some of that because our world has changed. So I think it's up to us to remind the world Austin East has been, is, and always will be among the best.